single day.
In 2011, Andy Johnson obtained all the necessary government paperwork before building this stock pond on his 8-acre ranch in Wyoming.
He worked with the state, the local government, got all the sign-offs he needed, and created a pond in his front yard.
And since we've built the stock pond, not only does our livestock benefit from it, but we've had eagles, we've had blue heron.
Former federal regulator Ray Cagle Jr. insists the pond benefited the environment.
It had the added benefit of creating quite a bit of nice habitat for fisheries, wildlife, waterfowl, and wetlands in general that were created because of the pond.
Johnson says it even filtered the water from 6 Mile Creek that he was using and made it cleaner. But none of that was good enough for the Army Corps of Engineers or the Environmental Protection Agency. The EPA demanded that Johnson dismantle the pond in 30 days in the dead of Wyoming winter or face serious fines because they said he'd done serious wrong. Jonathan Wood of the Pacific Legal Foundation.
He should have asked their permission first. And for having not done so, they demanded he remove the environmentally beneficial pond or pay up to $20 million in potential fines.
The EPA has came in and threatened to take everything that we've ever known.
More than his money was on the line.
Almost every environmental statute includes criminal provisions, so you could go to jail and face criminal fines for things that most of us take for granted on our own property, like moving dirt from one place to another.
The potential fines were about $37,500 a day and piled up into the millions because Johnson ended up in a long, hard fight against the feds.
We suffered many sleepless nights. We're still fighting the battle.
Johnson and his lawyers announced in 2015 they were suing the government over its treatment of the Johnson family.
And seeing what the EPA is doing to this family, it made me so angry.
How much power do we want to give unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats?
Wyoming's 2 senators wrote the EPA. The compliance order reads like a draconian edict of a heavy-handed bureaucracy.
It's just devastating to think that our government, the country that we live in, that I work so hard and pay taxes to, is now attacking us.
I think the thing that people connect with in the Andy Johnson story is he's just like all of us. He was doing something that most of us would probably do on our own property without even thinking about. And for doing that, the government threatened to ruin his life and his family's life.
The bureaucrats accused Johnson of violating the Clean Water Act and potentially affecting navigable waters they believed 6 Mile Creek fed.
Someone went to the computer on their desk, pulled up Google Maps, and based just on that, accused this man of violating the law.
Wyoming attorney Dan Frank points out how they made mistakes in reading the maps.
Had they ever gone out, they would have found that it dead ends in a canal and it doesn't ever reach a navigable water of the United States.
By just going by the map, they also mistook how the creek flowed.
They assumed the water was flowing uphill. If they had gone out and looked at the property, they would have found the water flowing the other direction.
The only thing that makes sense from my experience as a former federal regulator is that the government quite often, in my own personal experience, does things that don't make sense.
Given the mistakes his team uncovered, Johnson felt compelled to fight for as long as it took.
I decided that I was not going to tolerate our government telling us exactly what we can and can't do on our private property.
Ultimately, Johnson and his legal team won. The EPA backed down and gave up the fight. Wyoming Senator John Barrasso wrote after the government caved, "This settlement is a welcome rebuke of an agency that has gone too far."
The government has incredible leverage over you. They can ruin your life and ruin your family's future if you don't do whatever they say. That's why it was extremely brave of him to fight back and say, no, you've exceeded your power. I haven't done anything wrong.
In the end, the EPA didn't get even $1 from Johnson, and the pond still exists, still benefiting the environment, which you think the Environmental Protection Agency would appreciate. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from outside the EPA in Washington.
Hey Sheriff County, this is Sheriff County COPWATCH. I am using any video here with under fair use if you have criticism, reporting, teaching, etc. And please donate. I do not make money from YouTube, and there are different ways to donate in the video links. Thanks.